realized that this might be a good thing back in the middle of the 19th century. Fascinating stuff. Terry, I'll get right on it for you.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
We're live.
Well, I think are we in fact all here? Good evening to everyone. I have now lost all my little boxes to see if everybody's in attendance. But let's assume that it is now 7 o'clock, which means we should get our August 13th school board meeting underway. This is the monthly meeting where we do the business that needs to be done, and never more so urgently than right now. Let me say a couple of things in advance. First of all, we do appreciate community comments, and when we meet in person, of course, there's always an opportunity for people to step up to the mic. If you would like to make a comment as part of our virtual community comments, you need to do so through the comments function on the screen you're watching right now. Those will be fed in to Stephanie, and Stephanie will be able to read those into the public record. So if that's something you'd like to do, now is the time to do it. Likewise, I want to remind everybody that these meetings often work a little better if we're muted when we're not talking, and that way, if there's any reverb or feedback, that gets eliminated. Finally, just to say that we are still operating virtually under the instructions and guidance that was provided by the Ohio Attorney General way back in March, when public meetings of public bodies all had to resort to this format. We look forward to getting back in the room together, but we're not there yet. So with that by way of introduction, if I could ask Tammy to call the roll, please.
Khan.
Here.
Merhemic.
Here.
Ellison.
Present.
McQueen.
Whoops, okay.
Turner.
Here. Thank you for that. And Stephanie, are you going to pull up the agenda for us on the screen?
You can't see it.
I'm not seeing it. I'm seeing a box that says view the agenda.
I do.
Okay.
I do see the start of the agenda, but
There we are.
McQueen is here. Just so you guys know, I don't think he could speak.
Oh, okay.
yeah, I see.
Thank you, Stephanie. I can now see the agenda. So we'll move on to the approval of the minutes of our last two meetings. That's July 9th and July 25th. Do I have a motion for that, please?
So moved.
Second.
Are there any comments or additions, subtractions that need to be made to either of those? Everybody's a critic. Okay, let's call the roll on item 1.3, please.
Khan.
Yes.
Merhemic.
Yes.
Ellison.
Yes.
McQueen.
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
Thank you for that. And we'll say hello to everybody and anybody who might be watching us tonight on the video channel. We'll move to item 2.1. Stephanie, do we have any communications to report? I do not believe so.
No, and I'm checking with Thomas because I can't see the YouTube.
Ah, okay. So let's hold for a moment for 2.2 community comments.
No comments yet, but we have a slight delay still.
Okay. Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we go ahead and move forward to our administrative reports, and then we can come back to see if anything has popped up, since we're a little bit on a delay with the video channel. Does that work for
No
people?
questions, Steve.
Okay. So let's go to 2.3, our administrative reports. Jack, do you want to lead us off on this?
Sure. I've got two things specifically that I would like to report on. Well, three. The one I did not include, and that's just the general excitement that's happening in the building. And I think there was concern about coming back and being in the building, but our teachers are really excited. I think everybody's just anxious to get started now and to kind of see what the next step looks like and the next couple of weeks look like. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing, we had 3 teachers all summer work with SkyOp, which is a drone training company. And that's Brandon Lowry, Eli Hurwitz, and Steve Blything. And they went through like a Part 107 training. So they're all licensed drone pilots now. And what that allows them to do, or what allows us to do, is it allows all of our students to fly drones under their supervision. So they can, on a one-to-one basis, they can each be responsible for a student flying a drone. And then additionally, SkyUp came to Yellow Springs and hosted a 3-day hands-on training with those teachers. So as part of the ODHE grant that we got years ago, where we had the food trikes, that food trike grant, this is the second half of that grant. And this spring, we were planning to have this training all in the spring. And then our students, the goal behind it was for them to, in engineering class, partner with YSI and then outfit drones to be able to fly into protected water areas and measure water quality without disturbing the body of water. So it'd be the engineering process, 3D printing, and then they were going to partner with our chemistry classes to do the actual water analysis and use like GPS mapping so they can look at water quality in different areas, so they can start to look at where contaminants could be coming in, kind of all of those things. So as part of that grant, we were able to purchase drones and then have this training. And we have drones now that can do 4K video, high resolution photos. So it's pretty exciting to think about what that can mean for our students and to think about drones in a different way, even from a photography standpoint and video standpoint. So I really want to thank those 3 teachers because they voluntarily gave up 5 days of their quote unquote summer break to do this training. But it's pretty exciting. You can see a picture there. That's a screenshot from a flight around our campus. And you can't see it because it's been screenshotted and pasted into this, but just the clarity and resolution is pretty amazing. So I'm excited for our students to get to reap the benefits of that. And then the second thing I want to talk about is our senior projects. So I think in 1999 was when we started our senior projects. And this year, our first senior project kicked off, actually, I believe in May. And it's really cool to think about, we have a student who saw a real world problem and she sought out potential solutions. And then she partnered with this company to design all these masks. So we released this to our community, and she's got an entire page of Yellow Springs masks. So each of our different clubs and groups have masks. And then in doing this and this getting out, she's actually now partnered with companies nationwide to create masks for their different companies. So she's got a CPA firm that she's doing, I think in she's doing all their employees for 4 states or in 4 states. She's doing Delaware High School. She's designing all of their athletes masks. So for each of their different sports, the same way she did Yellow Springs. And to date, she's sold over 500 masks and on each of those masks, it's a fundraiser. $2 comes back to the school so that she's donating back. So it's really neat because she's got it all set up where the school ones, whichever club, whichever club's masks are sold, that money comes right back to that club. So that's how she's going to do the donations. And then I think she's going to take all the general masks and just spread that out among the different groups. But just really neat to see a student, when there's uncertainty if we're even going to be able to do senior projects this year, to see a student approach it differently and look for a meaningful way and a meaningful project. So a lot of success and a lot of kudos to Kayla for that work.
That's fantastic. And yes, and how great to get your senior project out of the way before your senior year even starts. That's wonderful. Jack, can you give us just a little sense of what you are finding challenging about this moment, and also what you're actually kind of surprised is going better than you expected?
I think for me, the challenging is just the efficiency you lose when you can't meet in person. So like the Zoom meetings, the virtual meetings, no matter how smoothly they go, I feel like there's a sense of disconnect and inefficiency and the ability to kind of break into groups. And, you know, normally when you're in a room, you can walk around and you can hear little bits and pieces from every group. You just can't do that in a virtual setting. So that's something that I'm finding challenging. And then when I think about the teachers all returning in person and what our first couple of days of professional development looks like, I think that's going to be a real challenge. What I'm really pleased with is like I said, just the excitement from our teachers and the motivation, and our teachers are really embracing this change. So I have not had a single negative comment, a single concern. The question is, how do I do it? How can you help me do it? Not, I can't do this, or I'm going to fail. You know, there's a real growth mindset from our staff, and that's just, it's what I expected, honestly. But the level of positivity around it and just the way our teachers are embracing the next couple of weeks of school is just really refreshing.
Ditto on the inefficiency of all of this. That absolutely resonates with my own experience. That's great. I'm terrific to hear that, Jack. Other questions that people want to toss at Jack as we prepare to roll into this year? And again, I can't quite see everybody on my screen at this point, so just go ahead and chime in.
And I just wanted to say it was cool. I've already seen some people in town wearing a couple of those masks. So, yeah.
Excellent. Okay. Well then, Michelle, welcome to your first administrative report. And wow, we thought we'd just increase the degree of difficulty here a little bit for you. Tell us how things are going.
Unmuted. Can you guys hear
We're losing you a little bit.
me?
You jinxed it, Steve. You told her we were increasing the degree of difficulty.
I jinx everything.
Let me know when everybody does this better. Can you hear me now?
I can
Yes.
hear you and see you now. Awesome.
No.
Okay.
Now we lost you again.
I first learned to play the keyboards.
Yeah, yeah.
She's been kind of going in and out, so I'm assuming she's got some connectivity issues.
Right. It absolutely.
I do my report because I'm no. Okay. Okay. Can you at least hear me if I stop the video?
Yes, I think that's a better idea.
All right. I'm still here. Okay. Can anybody hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Can you hear me? We can hear me. No hearing.
Yes.
Now we hear you really well.
Okay. I would have to be in the hottest room in the house. Okay. So, it's been going really well. We have had some staffing issues, obviously, some that we knew about, some that came up unexpected. So we interviewed some people, and we found some people who were, I found what I thought was a person who I had hoped to bring to you guys tonight so we could bring her on board. She opted, for reasons unknown, not to join our team. So I've been interviewing. I think I found somebody else. So we're going to try to bring her on board. Hopefully I have something, in the next couple of days in terms of a replacement for our 4th grade teacher. Our reading intervention specialist at this time, I think we're going to leave that position open because it doesn't necessarily translate to online learning, and we'll fill that when we come back from being online. The teachers are coming back They're really excited from what I can tell. I think to answer the question that was asked of Jack, what is going better than what you thought? It's just literally the people's willingness to learn. Like they're really eager to make it better than what it was in the spring. And that you can tell just by the kinds of questions that they're asking. I think, and the want to get trained, the want to be able to figure out resources, the want to get this going and to do it right. So I'm really impressed by the level of enthusiasm that I'm seeing by staff. I am trying to get out to meet people as best I can. I have this week I've been when I've got some free time, I'm going out and I've been taking popping in with popcorn, Miss Person popping in with popcorn. I've gotten to meet a handful of families that way. I'm meeting and got to meet some of the parents. The goal is to see as many kids as possible before school actually starts. I'm going to be at the farmers market next Saturday from 10 to 12. A one call has been scheduled to go out so that parents, if I haven't made it to them with popcorn, which is going to be kind of hard because we are an open enrollment district. So I'm going to try and get to as many of the Yellow Springs families in Springfield, possibly in Xenia. But some of the Dayton families, Fairborn, and some of the other further away areas, I'm not sure that I'll be able to get to. But I am doing the flea market next week. I'm going to invite families to come and meet me there. And we're going to have a table there and a sign. And if families want to come up and say hi, that way I can at least put some a face with a name with my face, next weekend before we head back in. So that's, not a long board report this month, as we're, just trying to staff like crazy and get this thing up and moving. But that's what's going on over at Mills Lawn.
Well, thank you for that, Michelle, and yeah, welcome. I think that's a wonderful idea about popping in with popcorn and showing up at the farmers market on Saturday, where yes, you will meet lots of people, and you will, I think, find that even people in town who aren't necessarily school families will want the opportunity to meet you as well, because even their children have moved on, but they're still invested in the schools, and they'll want to have a chance to get to meet you. So that's a terrific idea. Are there other comments for Michelle as she, and again, just go ahead and chime in because I can't see everybody.
I just want to say welcome to being really in it now.
Okay, well, thank you. Sorry, Stephanie, can you? Yeah, so let's go ahead now then and move on to items 3 in our agenda, the financial report 3.1.
I have 2 financial reports this evening. Last month, I gave a verbal report for the end of June, 30th of 2020. And this month we have the report. And just want to reiterate, for the general fund, we ended $2,323 more. We had more in revenue than we did in expenditures by that dollar amount. So, and I just want to caution that that's probably not going to happen again this fiscal year. But once again, we're going to watch the expenditures and the revenues very closely. So Stephanie, if you could go to the July report. So we also have the July 31st, 2020 report. And the item to note with this is, obviously we're just starting the fiscal year. So we have a preliminary budget that I am tracking our actuals against. And you heard me talk about this a lot last year, which is the school district income tax. And it sounds like I'm going to be talking a lot about it this year also. But for this month, we came in significantly under budget. and that amount was $372,629. And my assumption is that this was due to the tax deadline being moved back from April 15th to July 15th. So, once again, we'll know more when the next collection comes in. But as far as that, everything else appears to be tracking along with the budget. So Stephanie, if you could go down a couple more pages. And, once we also have, the month of July, and then we have the information for the 1 month ending July. And then we have it as compared to the entire year budget. And then if you could go down farther. And then we have our graphs. And at this point in time, most of our revenue has come from the real estate tax. And most of our expenditures are on salaries and benefits. And as you can see with the revenue, we're tracking below the benchmark, and that's due to the income tax. And the expenditures are tracking pretty much what they should be at this point in time. And then here's the reconciliation. So we ended the month with $7.1 million in the bank. And then we have the financial summary for all the funds. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, as always, for the way you present all of this information, Tammy. I wondered if you've had an opportunity to talk with other treasurers to wonder if those districts that also have an income tax component and whether they experienced similar kinds of steep declines because of the shift from April 15th to July 15th.
I have not had a chance to do so, but I certainly can.
Yeah, it would be interesting to know. And I guess I just want to double check that given this steep disparity, that does that affect in any way our capacity to pay the bills, or to have the funds available?
No.
Okay.
No. But if you look at the analysis and you look into the categories of the school district income tax, the withholdings track pretty much what they did a year ago. And what was down was the collections, the payments that were mailed in with the returns. So to me, that indicates it's because they pushed back the deadline. But I will check with other treasurers.
Yeah, but so given that, do we have any sense of when we might catch up with those revenues?
Well, I would assume that we would catch up at the next collection because that's when everything is due.
Okay.
And it will be in that collection.
And so that would be the next quarter. Is that correct?
Pardon?
Is that quarterly, next quarter?
Yes.
Okay.
We'll get that at the end of October.
Okay. Other questions about the 2 months of financial reports? All right, then. So we'll move on to the consent calendar, our financial portion of this, and this is items 4.1 through 4.6. Do I have a motion for that, please?
I'll move.
Second.
Okay. Tammy, take us through.
The first item you have are the permanent appropriations. And we have to do this every year so that we have the spending authority and we can spend the money in the appropriate categories. The next item is the approval of the district property and liability insurance. And we are going with a different company this year. We hired a consultant to obtain quotes for us and just to walk us through the whole process. And here's the summary of all the bids that we received. And the best bid was from Wright Specialty. And they are a insurance carrier that has most of the school districts in the state of New York. And they're obviously branching into Ohio. And we were able to save $9,771 by going with them. We also changed some of our coverages, but we really didn't lower coverages except where we got to the umbrella limit. And we decreased that from 4 million to 2 million. And the thought on that was, if somebody's going to sue you, they're going to sue you for what you have for the limits. So we thought it would be a good idea to decrease that to 2 million. We still have ample coverage, and then save some on the premium on that. We are also deleting foreign terrorism from that. We have a lower deductible for the buses that went from $1,000 to $500. And if we had an accident or we totaled a bus that was 10 years older or newer, we would get replacement cost. And we also added flood coverage. Now, that might sound odd, but it also covers surface water. So with some of the things that we've had happen here in this area, I thought it might be a good idea to have some coverage for surface water. There is a $25,000 deductible, but on the other hand, if it would affect something like a gym floor, even though we had to pay $25,000, I think that would be worth it. So that will be effective August 19th, and that's for a year. The next item is the approval of the budget and purpose statements. Now, these are not all of them. Those are what we have so far, and we're asking the board to approve these, and these are for the student activities at the buildings. And you can see the different ones as Stephanie scrolls through that. And then I want to go on to 4.4. And basically what 4.4 is a couple of months ago, I asked the board to approve a resolution authorizing the sale of land, and we were going to take that to the auction. And one of the requirements that we needed was a survey in order to be able to split that parcel of land off. I've run into a few bumps with getting that survey, and we were not going to get that in time for the auction. So we thought it was best to basically rescind that authorization, selling the land, and we're going to cancel the auction as of now, and then we're going to wait until we get the survey, and then we're going to proceed forward at that point in time. On 4.5, it's a lease purchase resolution for the outdoor facilities. And this is for financing, and this is for the track project that we are working on. And the maximum amount of authorization to borrow is $700,000. We're still working on running some numbers to see what those monthly payments would be to make sure that we can afford those and not really stretch the PI fund. And then the next one, number 4.5, actually is 4.6, is the resolution authorizing the contract with a design professional for the outdoor facilities track improvement project. And Terry, do you want to talk about this? Or do you want me to?
It doesn't matter.
I'll let you talk about it.
So we did, we put an RFQ out and got some decent responses. And so we narrowed the architects to 3 and did interviews. A team of us did interviews, and in the end, Tammy and I talked, and I made the decision in consultation with the treasurer, with input from the team, that we would go with Steed, Hammond, and Paul for this project. For the track project, everyone we interviewed, they used the same companies for the sports work and the field work. I mean, that was consistent across the board. So our hope is that we are able to think a little bit differently, and as we work with the architect and design professional and thinking about not just about the track, but the rest, kind of the second half of that outdoor facility project, which would be restrooms, the sorely needed restrooms, and a building that might house restrooms and concessions and a team room. So that this is a contract with them to begin this work.
Thank you for that. I just want to piggyback on what the two of you have just said about that 4.6 item, and to remind everybody that the track and field project has been something that's been percolating for quite a long time. We had built some momentum to really move forward on this earlier in this calendar year, well, pre-March. And then in a sense, the schools closing and everything being as chaotic as it was, we in a sense had to start over again with a new RFQ and then go through a process again of vetting and interviewing the people who responded to that RFQ. I'm really excited that we are finally now going to be moving forward on dealing with the soccer field and the track that rings it and all of the ancillaries that are responsible for it. This has been a long time coming. I know a lot of people in the community recognize that there are some real problems that need to be addressed out there before this becomes totally unusable. So I'm really pleased that we're at that point. Other questions about these items?
So Steve, I think clarifying the track, it's pretty much unusable at this point as it is, right? I mean, we've got 2 lanes that are actually dangerous to run on, and we can't have meets at that facility at this point. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And so the question is just how fast the rest of it is going to deteriorate. And given some of the things we've learned, it could be quite quickly indeed. And in some ways, sort of connected to Tammy, your comments about getting some flood insurance. I think what we're having here is water damage. We are having surface water problems that we may not have really had in the past. A drainage pipe, which is really the issue, the serious problem for us out at the track and the field. So yeah, I think having flood insurance was a very smart thing to do.
So, Board President, not that it has anything to do with this proposal, but to add insult to injury, we now do not have electric on one half of the stadium and the scoreboard. Yes, indeed. And that is due to, if you remember, on Sunday, I was actually doing some work on my screen porch and I heard lots of sirens. Well, and then I got a call. That was the alarm at the high school. We had a power outage, and it turned out that they had to shut down some power Monday, and there was an issue from us to the street that has, now we're here on Thursday, and I was told today that we have no power and we have to bring in somebody to get a quote to repair the electric. So.
Well, thanks for that.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah, right.
Well, and I'll just add, because more attention is often paid to the issues with the track that are significant and, problematic and dangerous, et cetera, and restrict practice and competition. But also the alleged field event areas that we have are really just not even appropriate to even try to practice on, much less host like we used to do. So it's all very serious and a big need. Thanks.
Yep.
I do have a question for you, Tammy. On 4.5, I have read it a couple of times. Can you explain it? I have not understood it after reading it a few times, even look up the Ohio code on it too.
Well, you mean the lease purchasing part of it?
Correct. Yeah, exactly what that does and how we utilize it and what does it mean for us.
Okay. Well, the lease purchases is one of the ways you can do a small project without going through a bond issue, because normally you'd have to go through a bond issue and then you could do construction. So basically what we do is just, the normal lease purchase is that we lease it back from them. We put up the track as collateral, and then we're able to do the site improvements, the facilities, and it's more terminology than anything in how it's structured, because I can't go to a bank and just borrow money. So Ohio has come up with ways that we can do, lease purchases in order to be able to borrow money and put up collateral. So does that help?
Yeah, I think so. So if I'm understanding it right, we are essentially going to be able to use I think you said the PI levy to be able to make payments over a period of time to fund the project.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And it's probably going to be anywhere between 5 and 10 years that we're going to borrow that money. I'd like to keep it the term as low as possible, but then your payments are higher. So we'll have to take a good look at that.
Also just add for those, thank you, TJ, that's great. I would also just add that we have already talked with the people who responded to the RFQ about doing fundraising, which would therefore offset the money that we are borrowing. If we can raise some percentage of that privately, then the payments get reduced, or we finish it off faster, or whatever it happens to be. So that is also part of our plan as we do this project. And I'm pretty excited about that, actually, the possibilities for that. Okay, why don't we call the roll there on those 4.1 through 4.6?
Mayor Hemick.
Yes.
Ellison.
Yes.
McQueen.
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
Khan.
Yes. Terrific. Thank you for that. Okay. Time for the superintendent's report.
Okay, board. So, and my number one update is about just getting the year started. So I feel like you're probably thinking these are a lot of meetings for board members, because I feel like we meet all the time, and it's like, oh, we have to meet, and so I both apologize and thank you for that, because I think so much has changed since March. So as I was trying to write my staff welcome back letter, my second communication that I hope to get out tomorrow, I was really thinking about that journey and thinking that it really boggles the mind that we started in March with this and we are not finished. But anyway, we're going to start the school year, the first quarter, virtually. So what that means is that students will learn from home. Staff members will work in the buildings. So both as a cabinet team, and that would be the principals and Donna and Jeff Irick and Craig Carter and Thomas. So all departments in the district, we've been meeting weekly. And so as a team, we've developed our safety protocols that Jack and Michelle have started as staff come in the building. And so when everybody's in on Monday, those will be in effect. We are finalizing our purchasing of sanitation materials, et cetera, and signage. Not only will we have staff in the building working, we will have a few students, and so I'll talk about that. So we want to make sure everything is set. We're purchasing kind of retrofitting units for the water fountains, so that they can support bottle filling and not drinking, because we think that that's going to be key. We can't do that for all of our fountains, but we're going to do it for some. But we've really been gearing up. Once we've made this decision, we've really been gearing up to get this off the ground, and everybody's running 200 miles an hour for our academic delivery. And I see we have some technical difficulties, but I'm still going to keep on going if everybody can hear me. For our academic delivery, we're committed to to doing better and doing what's right by our children. I think I'm going to echo Jack and Michelle's comments, and that the teachers are excited and they are ready and they are willing to work hard. We've purchased a learning management system called Abre that's really going to, I think, be helpful to not only teachers, but students and parents as well, because it will allow us to have kind of a one-stop shop where students will know what to do. Parents will have their access that will roll out in just a little bit. So we've been doing training for that. We have been purchasing, we've had to do a pivot. So we've been purchasing some online curriculum, or I should say not curriculum so much as tools. And so an example would be music, high school band and orchestra. How do you do that remotely? So we've purchased some platforms that will allow students to do things at home, upload it. Brian Mayer can then work with it and push it out. And I think, we've tried to take that route. How can we continue to do what we do? How can we continue to do our regular curriculum, but do it in this virtual environment? Again, I mentioned safety when students start on, so teachers come in on the 17th, when students start on the 27th. We'll go over with them. Honestly, I think it behooves us to go over with them general COVID pandemic safety procedures, even though they are not with us, as well as kind of how they're going to access their classes, what that's going to look like, what the expectations are. Teachers are creating a schedule for each class so that students know when they're to be synchronous and face-to-face, or when they're to be asynchronous and working offline, or working virtually with peers, or perhaps meeting individually with the teacher. We're trying to figure out our special populations. So Donna and I have been meeting regularly, and we have another meeting tomorrow. For those parents and families listening, I want to tell you that students will get their main instruction and their main support through our virtual platform. But we know that may not be enough for some students, and so we're trying to think, how can we make this work? Give us some time, and we're going to push that out. But first level of support, whether that's for a student with special needs or not, will be with the teacher and with the intervention specialist who will be involved in this remote learning. As you know, everyone is going to wear masks. We were ahead of the game even before the governor said everyone is going to wear a mask. But that is in force in the district. We're trying to keep kids engaged. So we just posted for our extracurricular positions so that many of these can meet remotely. We have United Student Society, we have Spidey, we have Student Council, we have Girls on the Run. So all of those we're going to continue. And so some just may not be starting yet. So those will kind of transition into, because it is important for students to remain engaged. Athletics. Jeff Irick and I are on speed dial with each other because we talk about this every day, and we watch the governor and probably every meeting so far for the past 2 weeks, every press conference has been, I'm going to talk about athletics next time. I'm going to talk about athletics next time. Even today, he said he's going to make a decision by next Tuesday. So right now our teams are practicing And that is it. I think the big question is for those sports that are described as contact sports, and that would be soccer. Cross country was given approval to start practicing as a non-contact sport. I think Jeff and I have talked extensively about it. Our first priority is student safety, but we know that for many of our students, this is really what keeps them going. I think the drama that's unfolding nationally, you've seen it with college football, you've seen it with professional sports, that's playing out at the state level with high school sports. And so I'm not going to make a political comment here, but in the end, no matter what level, I think probably not so much high school, but certainly in college and professional sports, money is in the equation. That's not in the equation for us, but probably something more important than money for our students is their involvement in these activities. So right now we're practicing. Competition, I do not know yet. So I will keep you posted as we go along. And so I put 2 reminders on here, mainly for me, because I think I need to remember this. You know, I think we go so fast and there's so much that needs to be done, and I have to answer all of these questions and respond to all of these emails, and sometimes that makes us, or certainly makes me, probably not the best Terry that I can be. So I need to remember to give grace to everyone. People are anxious. They're in some cases not just anxious, but scared. We don't know how to operate in this environment. It's new for everyone. So I think my goal is to give grace to everyone. And then at the end of the day, hopefully I can give grace to myself for all of the things that I didn't do. And finally, for this part of my update, our number one goal is we want to get back in school safely as soon as possible, but back in school. My next just general update item is really, I think we talked about it during the approval of the architect contract, but I just want to reiterate what both you said, Steve, and TJ said. Our track is not usable. Our track is dangerous. And Sylvia, as a former track and field athlete, when I say track, I mean track and field, because those field events are just as critical as the running events. All of it is unusable. So that's our primary goal there.
Thank you for that, Terry. Can I ask a couple of questions, please? First, about sports and about athletics. So the Big Ten and the Pac-12 this week decided that they're not going to do the fall season, the Mid-Atlantic Conference as well. So we are in a curious situation where most college, at least large college programs in Ohio, will not, and the high schools are still up in the air. Does there come a point at which we as an individual district consider making a decision? As you said, we were out in front on the mask question before the governor got there. And if there does come a point where we want to make that, how do you think we would do that?
So we've talked about that very thing. I think the athletic director and I would discuss it. He's been getting parent input along the way. In fact, he actually has a parent meeting as we speak, or maybe it's over with soccer parents. I think we need to get parent input, and then he and I would need to meet with the board. With this type of decision, once we make it, we make it. And I think it's just, I just want us to understand, and it may be the right decision and it may be what we're going to do, but I want to be able to, I have to look children in the eye and say, this is not what we're doing. Yeah. So we can make it. I think we're very close to making that decision, Steve.
Okay.
Um,
My second question, thank you for that, has to do with something you brought up at our last board meeting, and that is what you called, I think, the Safe Centers for Online Learning.
yeah.
We all thought, I think, that this was a really terrific thing to pursue, and without pressing you on it, because I know things are still in flux, do we have some better sense of how that might work?
Oh, yeah. So thank you, because it clearly was in my update and I didn't address it. So parents who've applied, they've received one communication that says, thank you, we have it. You know, I think we've been able to meet all applications, which is good. We're probably close to capacity. We have about 80 students, maybe 82. So we're going to have 4 spaces at the middle school, high school, and 6 at Mills Lawn. Those spaces will be staffed to the degree that we can by our instructional assistants. That won't work for all of them, but that is our approach, because these are great individuals, committed individuals who know our students. The groups are roughly 7 to 8. There might be a couple with 9, so they're very nice sizes. And what we've been able to do is to group siblings together if they are at one campus. So what we didn't do is group, if I'm in 3rd grade and my sibling is in 8th grade, we just did not group them together, because Michelle and her staff have worked very hard that the Mills Lawn students are going to have roughly the same schedule time-wise. And so in those safe centers, by having, even if they're at different grade levels, the students are going to have the same time schedule. So that will help the assistant really monitor that group. So we tried to group by sibling group and then grade band. So I think the way it's going to happen is, and this will come out in parent communication. So I thank parents for being patient. This was the right thing to do, but boy, let me tell you, there are a bunch of moving parts to it. So we're going to ask parents to do safety checks at home, and then when students come in, they will have a safety check. The assistant is there to make sure they can access their technology, make sure they're kind of, attending, provide restroom breaks, just kind of run around breaks, lunch. So to be there for that. And they can support students. They can answer questions. That's not their primary purpose, and that's what I've described to them, because the primary purpose of the Safe Center is to give a space for parents who are essential healthcare workers or workers whose job cannot be done remotely and they cannot be released, or single parents. So the primary role of that was a space, and I think we've been able to accomplish that. But that's kind of where we are now with that. So
that's
it's
terrific.
moving along.
Yeah, and I just want to stress again, you brought this up a month ago, for students who just cannot be at home, providing them an opportunity to be in the building, doing their online curriculum under supervision. I just think this is really terrific, making the best out of a very tricky and complicated situation.
Right.
Are there anything else, any other comments, questions about the superintendent's update?
I just want to say, Terry, I appreciate your apology, but I also want to say there's no apology necessary, because it's really obvious how much is happening and how much you've all been doing. And, I think the least we can do is sit in meetings with you and try to convey how much we appreciate you and how much is being done by you and your staff. So thank you, but totally unnecessary. I feel like I want to extend the apology to you all for sure.
Well, we're all in this together. So.
Yep. Correct. Other, again, because I can't see everybody, so
Hey, I guess I just following up on the SCOL, are you hearing anything from the parents whose children are going to be involved? I mean, I know this is unfolding and all of that, but you get a sense from them about sort of what they think and so forth?
Yeah, I mean, I think they've been all very grateful and generous, and I think they're just waiting to hear from me details. So I do want them to know it's coming. I think we've had some questions around IEP support, and so Donna and I have talked at length about that, and that's what I'm trying to make clear. This is not designed for that. So we are getting protocols in place. So through regular instruction online, whether they are getting that physically sitting in one of our buildings or physically sitting at home, that's where the support happens. However, having said that, we know across the board, we're trying to come up with better supports for our students with special needs in a remote environment. And that would be for all of our students, not just those in our safe centers. But I think parents were grateful and not, I feel like it's the least we can do.
okay, then I think we're ready to move on to 6 on our agenda, and that's the administrative portion of the consent calendar. And this is, Stephanie, if you would please scroll down just a little bit. I think this is 6.1 through 6.9.
Yeah.
No?
And
Sorry, 6.12. My apologies. 6.1 through 6.12. A motion for that.
so moved.
Second.
Great. Terry, anything that needs to be highlighted here? I think a lot of this is, or some of this at any rate, is what we do
Right.
annually.
Yep, I'm just going to highlight a few things and then I'm happy to entertain questions. So the 6.1 is important in that the board is being asked to waive the second read requirement because these are 2 policies that are by statute required and to be approved by a certain deadline, and this is the meeting for us to meet that deadline. There's nothing, OTES 2.0, there's nothing really new in that. It's just the state's transitioning. We're still a year out. So this even gives us time to revise a policy should we need it, but we will have it officially in place. And then the federal government has made, this is where there are more substantive changes in the Title IX policy, but they have been full speed ahead that this has to be approved by August 14th. And there's been a lot of talk about maybe the fact that this deadline should have been loosened a little bit, but it has not. And so here we are. So these are the first and second reads for those policies. The rest is the first read for policies. I do want to say there is a mask policy on there. And we'll do first read now and then second read next month. That will be pretty important for us. The 6.3 and 6.4 is standard this time of year. 6.5, the sports medicine agreement. In the past, we've worked with Mercy. However, they have moved on. So we are partnering with Kettering, which actually works better for our parents because they go to Kettering or Soin and it's much more central to us. So that's the sports medicine agreement for us to have a trainer in our athletic events. The Greene County Online Learning Collaborative is so that we can work through this collaborative to provide a third-party year-long online curriculum for our students who need that and who know now there is no way I can come back to school physically. Chromebook fee schedule. Again, this has been standard for the middle school, high school, but it does now include Mills Lawn. And it's the fee and the repair schedule. So everyone's charged a nominal $30 fee, and then it's stipulated what happens if it's lost or broken, and everybody gets a free pass the first time. So that policy now does apply to all students. The next item, which is the time change. Again, we've been talking about this for several months. The high school, middle school, quite honestly, needed more instructional minutes. So they are just a 15-minute change on the early end. We're going from 8:45 to 8:30. I will say that still puts us as one of the later starting middle schools and high schools, but so it'll be 8:30 to 3:30. Mills Lawn then will shift by 15 minutes, and they're going to shift both ways. So they'll be 8 to 2:30. The reason for that is that it brings both campuses to kind of the same overall minutes that are required, so that when I have to make decisions whenever we are back in person about weather days, I'm not worried that I have one campus so far off from another campus. It just gives us more flexibility. And then 611 is the blended learning declaration. So you approved this in July saying we were going to do it. This is saying we're not going to do it. The reason we're not going to do it is because we're doing remote learning, and ODE has some very specific language. And so 6.12 is our remote learning plan. So that I will submit to them, to ODE on Monday. And it just lists out what we're going to do in big categories. What's our curriculum going to be? How are we going to support students? How are we going to make sure we're equitable in providing students access, technology, things like that. Board, once you approve this, if we tweak it, it does not need to come back for additional approval. And that is pretty much it. So I'll take any questions that you might have.
Well then, why don't we go ahead and call the roll?
Ellison,
Yes.
McQueen,
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Khan,
Yes.
Mayor Hemick.
Yes.
Thank you for that. And now we'll go on to the personnel portion of the consent calendar, and that's items 7.1 and 7.2. Motion for that, please.
I'll move.
Second.
So board 7.1 is our compensation schedules for various groups, admin, exempt employees, the clerical assistants, EMIS, administrative assistant and payroll, and the nurses. I do want to say that Tammy needs some, Tammy needs some thanks, because she's tried to really align these things, and she's worked hard all year with different classifications to get these set. So you can see those schedules there. 7.2 are our regular personnel schedules. And so I ask for your approval as presented. There's not anything on here that's necessarily a surprise. I mean, we talked about some teacher resignations, but a lot of this is standard for this time of the year. I will tell you that September's will probably be a little lengthier, but I ask for your approval as presented.
Before we call the roll, Terry, can I ask a tangential question about this? Michelle had mentioned that she had hoped to come to us tonight with a recommendation for hiring a new teacher. Does the board need to come back and approve such a hire before the school year officially begins, or can a new teacher begin and then we can approve that hire, in a sense, retroactively.
I'm going to ask Tammy to confirm, but in the past, that has happened.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, the biggest thing that you want to do is get a contract to them and get their signature on that. And if we need to, we can always approve that retroactively.
Okay, fine. Questions about these two items, 7.1, 7.2? We'll go ahead and call the roll then, please.
McQueen,
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Khan,
Yes.
Nurhimic,
Yes.
Ellison.
Yes.
Okay, terrific. So that concludes the business that we vote on this evening, and now we'll move to our final portion, and that's our board communications. I'd like to hear from the Career Center, Mr. McQueen, but I'm going to ask you if you can speak into the mic. You're very faint, so if you can turn up the volume.
Gotcha. Let me. Can you hear me any better? Are you hearing me a little better now?
You're still
No?
super quiet for me.
Oh, sorry. Hold on a second. Hold on. All right. This better? Yeah. Okay. That's what I thought. All right. I need the speakers here. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right. Perfect. Not much news coming from the Career Center other than we definitely are starting in the new building. Pretty happy about that. We are going to have to switch around and figure out how we're going to do the tours that were originally scheduled for parents and students in September. It looks like, yeah, it may have to be later September or maybe even early October before we can figure out how we can actually get not only just the students and their families, but new students and families to also come. So that's going to take some work to figure out how we're going to actually have an open house with all of this. We were donated a full spectrum laser engraver from the Greene County Public Library, and we're very excited about that. It's for our makerspace, so like any student and staff can use it. So we're super excited about that as well. We actually haven't been giving any reports, so our reports are going to be starting soon. So basically, like Terry and probably just Terry, we needing to get with you sort of the day before this so that I can sort of have some sort of report to actually tell about Yellow Springs. Usually I have to wait a month, but this year it looks like you're going to need to be sort of ahead of schedule. And yeah, beyond that, COVID funds, we did get some of those, and we were already told it was already spent. So that's about how quick that went. And that concludes my report from Career Center.
Thank you for that. It's great to be moving into that new building. Are there other board member items?
I too played or did track in high school, Terry. I don't know if I just didn't hear my name mentioned. It's like all 4 years, 4-letter, but just so you know.
Here's a secret. One secret you get to know about me. I actually still hold a record at the University of Cincinnati. It's a sprint record, if you can believe it. So there.
A sprint record. Wow. I hold a high school record.
Uh-oh. I now see the inaugural. I see the whole inaugural event for the new track. It's McQueen and Holden in the blocks. I love it.
Now I will not be
That's
satisfied.
a fundraiser, and I will pay money to see that.
Yeah,
right.
it's an inaugural event / fundraiser.
That's right. Other items here as we wind down. I just want to wish everybody the best of luck as we all start back, because it really is, we are jumping in some kind of a pool and we're not even sure what the water temperature is. So, and I guess I just want to reiterate item number 1 at the end of your superintendent report, Terry, about kindness, patience, and grace. I think we all need to give it, and I want to expect it in return, because this is just a challenging moment. So thank you to everybody, Jack, Michelle, and your staff for getting us ready. Stephanie and Thomas for doing all of the work that you've done on the technology side, which is more urgent than it ever has been for us. And this was summer vacation for everybody, was dealing with all of this. So thank you. Do I have a motion to adjourn then?
So moved.
I'll second.
Let's call the vote on that, please.
Turner,
Yes.
Khan,
Yes.
Merhemic,
Yes.
Ellison,
Yes, and thank you.
McQueen.
Yes.
Well, very good, people. Yes, have a good weekend, and thank you all for everything. We'll talk soon.
Oh, there's everybody.
There's everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, guys.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Great.